All right, forget about hopium. Investors, they need the real thing. In fact, my next guest says the market is now a junkie for liquidity that has a convulsion over anything remotely related to inflation or wages. And it's getting the shakes because it's desperate for signs of a pivot. Joining me now, President of Bianco Research, Jim Bianco. So, Jim, you've been fired up, my man. So I'm looking at Twitter. Yesterday, the Atlanta Fed wage tracker comes out. Overall, the number edges to 6.4% from 6.3%, and the stock market immediately hits its air pocket. But here's the thing. Cold turkey and anything is tough, and I guess living in denial is tougher, though. So my question to you is, have you seen anything like this? Has this ever been around to this degree?
I don't recall it ever being around to this degree. And what we're talking about is the market is all about cheap money and liquidity. And that's why you see these massive moves. Remember CPI last month, up 5.5% in one day, the biggest day since the lockdowns of 2020. Even this morning, PPI is a secondary number. Immediately, the market fell over 1% next trade in futures trading when the number came out a little bit higher than expected. The market is singularly focused on one thing. It wants cheap money. It wants the Fed to pivot. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I heard you with Dr. Yardeni before, and I love that man. I heard you talking with him that this is the most priced in recession ever. It is, because that's the bull story. If the economy goes into recession, if people lose their jobs, the Fed pivots, right, and then the market goes up. The bear story is everything's fine. Then the Fed keeps raising rates, and they never cut rates. This is the upside-down world we're in right now.
In the midst of all of it, though, the market has been moving lower, and typically that's when you get opportunities, right? That's when fundamentals, at least it used to matter to a degree. And so we know quantitative easing and aggressive Fed actions or aggressive Fed interventions have changed the calculus, but at some point, won't fundamentals rule? Shouldn't people be out there and whatever they do, during their fundamental checklist, finding opportunities? Because at some point, will that matter?
Oh, it will matter, and it does matter. The problem with fundamentals right now, or valuation in the market, is it's not really that cheap just yet. There are some pockets in the value space where it might be cheap, but overall, the average price to earnings ratio, earnings expected in the next year is 18.5. That is not a cheap market. Maybe 10 would be a cheap market. So eventually, you're right that if this market continues to churn about, and eventually, even if we don't get a recession and earnings come through, you could wind up with a very cheap market, but we don't have it yet.
I got you. Hey, let's talk about this whole Sam Bankman-Fried fiasco. He's going to appear before Congress. My concern, and I've been pounding the table on this, and I'm pretty upset about it all, is I'm worried that the committees and the media are going to promote this as a crypto issue, or maybe as a psychopath run amok, but not an indictment about the entire system that I see that it consistently overvalues assets on the private side, dumps them at extraordinarily high prices on the public side. The elites get paid over and over again, and the public gets caught holding the bag. This was just another one of their creations in my mind. So I'm worried that this part of the story is going to be avoided. What are you concerned about?
Oh, that is absolutely one of the concerns in the story. But I think to what you said in the beginning, we want to paint this as a crypto story, where this is the oldest story of time. This is theft. They took customer money, your money, my money, and they spent it on their own things. They spent it on either venture capital deals, they speculated with it in the crypto market, or he bought expensive real estate for his parents, and all of a sudden, all the customer money went away. That's not a crypto story. That's a story of fraud and deceit. We don't need crypto rules for that. We already have rules for that. And that's why a lot of people like me have wondered why this guy is still walking around free. Remember that when the Madoff story broke, he was in jail that night. That night he was in jail. We're now going on almost a month, and he's enjoying the weather in the Bahamas as a free man, and I still don't understand why.
That makes two of us. And again, I'm desperately hoping that the system that created and aided and abetted, that's revealed as well, so we can maybe get some of that out of the way and bring a fairer market to the public. Jim, you're one of the best, my man. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right, folks, holiday shop.